Welcome back. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. And this is the second episode of the Bharat Progress Report. In this Bharat Progress Report, episode number 2, we are going to be focusing on the category which is industry and the 10 milestones that have become the parameter for a robust industrial setup in our country. On the telecast with me is my editor-in-chief Rishabh Gulati and senior economist Sharat Kohli. And let's straight away dive into the milestone number 11, which is in the category of industry. India ranked 39th out of the 133 in the Global Innovation Index 2024. Now, this has obviously been an impact with government collaborative effort, Rishabh, when it comes to innovation, startups, unicorns.
Okay, this is crucial. Now, so of course, what we're doing is we have 101 milestones of what India has achieved in the past 1 year, calendar year, January to December 2024. We've discussed the first 10 under the broader category of the economy. Now we're picking up 11 through 20 under the broader category of industry. So here's number 11, 39th out of 133 countries in the Global Innovation Index. Now innovation means the holy grail of the future. What is being done in terms of research and R&D and patent filing and new ideas and papers being written and PhDs being done and conceptualizations from high-tech industry to all sorts of subsidiary matters, including software coding. The future lies in this. Now, this is a metric that helps you gauge where you've reached. This is not the be-all, end-all, and you can argue that the glass is half full and you can argue the glass is half empty. The people who are going to be optimists and say, look, we have jumped up in the rankings, this is a great sign. But there will be others who will say that for a major economy, you cannot be at number 33 in the world, so you've still got a long way to go. Both arguments are absolutely fair. But when we are measuring globally how much R&D and research and new technologies is emerging, we've become a lot better, but clearly a long way to go. But this is a really good sign because the future economy will be based on this, Megha.
Okay, milestone number 12 of the 101 milestones that we have collated for you. This is India Inc. that raised record 1.21 lakh rupees crore rupees of the qualified institutional placements till November 2024. How does this improve the industrial setup of the country?
This is a very, very interesting thing because when we talk about QIPs, okay, which is qualified institutional placements, which means that companies who are looking to raise capital before they go to the stock market or they come up with another project, and they might be listed companies but coming up with a subsidiary or another project, they are going to large institutional investors who are then giving them a large percentage of the income coming their way. And some of these big companies, you can see them on your screen, Zomato, Blinkit, all the major, the Reliance, Adanis, all of them seek for various project qualified institutional placements. This is at a record, never before seen calendar year, November 2024, we had already hit 1.2 lakh crore rupees in QIPs had been received. Big ticket item, because if you are an industrialist in this country, your cash flow is dependent on all sorts of investment instruments, and this is one of the globally most important ones.
Okay, Sharad, let's get a comment from you about Global Innovation Index. India ranks 39 now, and talking also about the QIPs. How does this impact and help grow the India Inc.?
Well, good afternoon, Megha and Rishabh, and to the viewers of NewsX as well. Well, coming to the Innovation Index first, I think the Indian mind, the Indian innovative skills and capabilities are unmatched. The difference between then and now, a very interesting case in point comes that were the Indians not innovative before? Before this government took initiative, or were we not measuring it? Were we not observing it? Well, there is a difference there. The difference is that hand-holding from the government, providing an ideal platform to these innovators, they were always there, just that they were untapped. So when you launch a scheme like Startup India, when you have fund of funds, when you have government organizing these startup mailers, and the kind of investment that starts pouring, this has got a snowball effect. One investor goes to Singapore, he tells, I have invested in this project, you get 5 more investors. So I think this untapped resource of Indian innovative capabilities and intellectual abilities has suddenly come to the fore. And all because of the government policies, because of hand-holding that government has done, which is why India is climbing. And I can tell you, what Rishabh was saying a while ago, that if we are 30-something, we might say, the glass is half empty because it's going to take us a while to reach the top 3 or 5 or whatever. But let me tell you an interesting revelation, that the snowball effect of this innovation is magical. You will find that to jump from 30-something to top 10 will be much quicker than jumping from 100 to 30. So because the more innovation you do, the more attention you grab for investors, the more attention you grab from the international community. So I think the Indian mind has always been unchallenged. It's all, America runs on Indian minds. Most of the developed world, shall I say, runs on Indian minds, which is why you're seeing the magic. And, from that, another point to notice that we don't see as many number of Indians now knocking at the foreign shores with this brilliant mind. So the brain drain, which we've been discussing for decades now, that brain drain has slowed down. And you will see this is going to be reversed as well. So what we are going to see in the next 5 years, mark my words, this is for all the viewers to note down, you will see a reverse brain drain happening. And imagine on all these brilliant minds who moved away from India to set up an innovative product in America or UK or whatever, coming back to India, you will really see magic working. So I think I'm not surprised.
Also, Sharad, QIPs, raising capital. Why have industries, why have entrepreneurs taken this particular path to raise capital?
Well, that's a very interesting point, because you always have the IPO route or a FPO route, which is initial public offering or a follow-up public offering. But QIP gives you the advantage of your funds. It is easier. It is quicker. You don't need a red herring kind of a prospectus. And you also get a consolidated holding from an investor who's much more educated, is professional, and can invest a larger chunk in a shorter period of time. And of course, in QIPs, you also have these reverse buyback arrangement. When you're able to deliver a certain percentage as a return, it becomes very friendly, very easy for the industrialist or the business to probably service that equity. So why QIP has grown to 1.29 lakh crore? The reason is very simple, because these institutions now believe in Indian industry, believe in the business acumen of these industrialists far more than what they used to believe earlier.
Absolutely.
And this is not coming out of thin air. The rate of return which these QIPs are generating, I can tell you the average rate of return, which data is not, it's not in public domain. The average return being generated by QIPs is around 20 to 25%. Look at the bank interest, look at the interest on debentures, 7, 8%, 10%, mutual fund, 12%. But these QIPs give you a magical rate because your valuation suddenly is up. So they gain in two ways. They gain out of dividends and they significantly gain out of valuations.
Okay.
It is all
right.
because
important insight that you've given on this, but I'm going to move on to milestone number 13, where Amazon decided to pledge to increase exports from India to $80 billion by 2030. So that was a massive announcement. Rishabh, how does this impact?
Okay, so this, of course, we talk about QIPs, right? That means Indian industry is getting funding at record levels. Now, this, when it happens, Amazon is now becoming the world's largest retail e-mart. Okay, is the largest in the United States of America, and it has a global footprint. Now, Amazon, remember, is also a tool when people are buying, consumers are buying products. There are two kinds of products. One are put by marketplace sellers, where Amazon acts like a marketplace, and the other, of course, are Amazon's own branded products. Now, you've had a commitment from Jeff Bezos that within the next 4 to 5 years, the amount of exports from Amazon alone will be $80 billion. So you're looking at the Indian exports currently are just under $800 billion, okay, per year. And you're looking at $80 billion of Amazon exports, which of course means that the export pie will go up. And it's a good example of how the export cycle, where we are becoming an export-oriented economy, is changing for India, Megha.
Okay, all right. And next up, of course, iPhone sales. That is milestone number 14. iPhone sales in India crossed $10 billion mark, and there have been manufacturing units now iPhone has set up across the country.
Yeah, so iPhone production in India, separate pointer, and iPhone sales in India, separate pointer. So ladies and gentlemen, Indians have bought $10 billion worth of Apple products. Okay, so we have contributed $10 billion to the top line of Apple Incorporated from this country. That is a figure that puts perspective, because this is not a livelihood product, this is not a brass tacks product, this is not food and water product, this is a prestige, it's a high tech, many would say even a luxury products at some of the price points, but people are buying it and we are contributing to the largest company in the world in this. And of course the good news is some of these are being made here.
Okay, Sharad, Amazon deciding to ensure that it is going to increase exports from India. We take a look at iPhone sales. What is this indicative of?
Well, it is clearly indicating of, China should be worried a lot, I must say, and the China plus one policy, or, the Chinese replacement concept is gradually catching pace. And I think we have two reasons to thank. One reason is Chinese meddling or CCPs meddling with the industry there, especially when you talk of iPhones. There was a lot of iPhone being manufactured there. And when this meddling happened, I think the large investments have started looking for alternate sources, and India comes as the next best alternate. Of course, there's Vietnam and a few other places who probably score at a similar level, but at a much smaller level. They can't match the Indian size. Exports happening from India, I think the Make in India concept launched by the government, that big line with moving parts, was more on theory. There was a lot of criticism on the government earlier that this line doesn't move, it's there in picture. But now that line has started roaring. This device called mobile phone is a very sophisticated one. So we have, that skill is required in India if you really want to manufacture. So on theory, we may be saying, why are they not getting it manufactured from India? But now that skill is catching up. The quality issues, I know some of the Foxconn, company executives, they told me that the skill earlier was missing, which means that the criticism on the Indian overall ecosystem of the workforce, that they are not as skilled. I think even that is now behind our back, because you need highly skilled people to be putting together this complicated device. So it is counting both ways. The Chinese, downfall of manufacturing, which is gradual happening, although we don't hear it on the media too often, but it's happening. Right. And of course, the Indian skill development, which is really caught up pace, and the Make in India initiative, which is caught up pace.
Absolutely, absolutely. Milestone number 16, India's annual defense production hit 1. Okay, before we go to our annual defense production, this Air India and Vistara merger that took place, it was full circle, life turning full circle for Air India, for Tata.
The reason I've included this in the milestones, because it's important, because for the past, let's say, a decade and a half, India's aviation industry has been a very strange enigma. It's a booming industry which is seeing passenger numbers increase year on year. It is seeing airports increase year on year. All the good things that make for a happy industry are there, but we've seen one airline after the other collapse, and we've seen one airline top executive owner after the other fall afoul of the law and go into massive debts. You've seen it happen across the board. But in the last year, we privatized Air India. The Tatas got it. The Tatas are already operating Vistara Airlines. In just the past few weeks, the latter half of 2024, the two airlines have now merged, forming the largest, of course, aviator in this country. We know that Air India is going to be procuring hundreds of new aircrafts over the next few years from both Boeing and Airbus, which now means that a very interesting story is about to be told of a behemoth not only serving the Indian market, which is going to become Air India, but across destinations. So the aviation sector, Delhi, for example, the national capital of India, as of last week, which is the end of 2024, is operating 150 destinations, a single airport operating 150 destinations, both domestic and international, showing you an aviation sector change.
Right, and coming to milestone number 16, where India's annual defense production has hit 1.27 lakh crore rupees, and this is very important as well, because the Make in India initiative has been given this massive push.
In a country that has forever been the world's largest arms importer. So you think about it, when we have to go and pay the bills abroad, we have to pay two hefty ones. The first is oil and gas, which is energy, and the second is defense. it was laughable that from bullets to bombs to the cutting edge of fighter engines, everything was being imported from abroad. Now, think about how big the defense industrial complex in the United States is, and understand that India, it is just beginning, and that figure 1.27 lakh crores of defense production is happening in this country now. You can expect this figure to go 10x over the course of the next few years, because that's how much is going to really create an industry in India. Big high ticket items, of course, we still don't make an engine for an aircraft, even though we've got the avionics, we've got the airframe, the material science sort of nailed down. So lots of big ticket items in high tech are thing, but then also think about, and we'll come back on this point, on BrahMos and others, which we're doing really well on.
Okay, Sharad, the aviation sector and the defense sector, massive boost. How does this impact the industry of the country?
Well, I think we've come a long way from when aircrafts and flying was only for the choicest few. I think the government's talk of from Hawaii Chappal to Hawaii Jahaz, I think that is paying off now. The number of Indians taking flights every day, besides the Delhi airport reaching 150 destinations, it's a record in itself within the country. I think the affordability, and having said that, I would like to add here that it's not that all sectors are very, very affordable, but just that the income span of people have grown. They can afford it. Even if, you get a Delhi-Bangalore ticket for 20,000-25,000 around Christmas one way, but it's all full, it's packed. So people who complain that probably aviation is expensive, ATF prices have gone up or whatever, why are we still running full? Then the aircraft should have been running empty. So only some people who are not able to afford, probably yes. But yes, the speed of growth of aviation sector is startling. And if you look at the last 6 months, I think we've seen a never before kind of a growth in aviation. Also, your point, Megha, regarding the defense, allow me to make a comment there. 25,000 crores is the amount of exports we have reached now. And, Rishabh was talking about bombs and bullets. Even nuts and bolts were being imported at one point of time. So for importing nuts and bolts of the tanks and the machine guns, we have now reached 25,000 export. And from exporting aircrafts to exporting tanks to missiles, I think practically everything is happening here. And this is, as he rightly said, this is going to grow many X now, because the kind of geopolitical challenges that the world faces at this time, I think defense sector is in for a big boom as far as India is concerned. Not just America, but countries like India and some of the other are also going to benefit out of this. So, a complete transformation, I would say, and a very interesting parameter to measure the growth.
You're absolutely right. All right. Milestone number 17, where the average monthly data consumption in India rose to 20.27 gigabytes.
Yeah, okay, I'm assuming that's for me. Yes, so the data, I want you to think about it, data consumption per capita, which means that for the hundreds of, especially watching this abroad, for the hundreds of million people, okay, in this country with a smartphone, on average, each individual is now consuming 21 GB of data per month. We have almost reached 1 gigabyte per day. Do the math. That is telling you that on any given day, anywhere between 500 million to a billion gigabytes of data are being consumed in this country in any given day, in a single 24-hour period, which is telling you of a massive data consumption revolution, which is telling you that digitization of India's goods, services, entertainment is now happening through data.
Okay, all right. Milestone number 18, where BSE Sensex ended up hitting a record all-time high of 85,978 in September 2024, despite quite the anomalies that India witnessed, particularly with regards to the Adani fiasco that happened.
I mean, it's not a fiasco. Two things have happened during the earlier part of the year and the latter part of the year, which have all emanated from the US, one Hindenburg, the others. But the Adani stocks recovered from the first one, eventually will recover from this one as well. In the context of things, we all understand stock markets go up and down. Okay, so they've corrected from this, but don't forget, we're looking at tabulation of what happened in 2024. India stock markets hit yet another record all-time high in 2024. Okay, and it looks like we are in a good spot for 2025 as well. So for investors and a large number of people, where mutual funds, domestic mutual fund procurements in India have gone up so much in the last couple of years, that this is of course good news that there is a healthy growth. We don't want bubbles in the stock market, so some corrections are a good thing. It's a good chance for people to buy in, but you want a healthy growth, and a record year on year of course is a good sign.
Okay, Sharad, getting a comment from you as well. When it comes to data consumption in India, which means penetration of technology in the remotest parts of the country.
Well, I think the speed at which the smartphones have penetrated, the latest data that I have on smartphones is we are close to about 80 crore smartphone, or the reach in the country. And I think gone are the days when you used to watch how much data you're consuming and how much money I'm spending. I think most of the people these days do not even bother to. We are the cheapest on data across the world. So people even in the villages, they watch their YouTubes and they watch their whatever, their social media. They don't care anymore that what am I spending. They know they are on an unlimited data plan, or they are on a peanuts data plan. So I think that is what has led to the transformation. And Megha, also commenting on the stock markets, if you allow. I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
No, absolutely.
Moving on to both the points that you spoke of. The Indian stock markets, I give credit to two things. One is the mutual fund collection, which has crossed 40,000 crores a month. Out of that, only SIP, which is the systematic investment plan, where people contribute every month or every fortnight, whatever they decide, that has crossed more than 22 to 23,000 crores per month. And all that money is coming to the stock market. It is simply because of the belief of Indians and the overseas investors. We call them FPIs and the FIIs, the foreign portfolio investors and the foreign institutional investors. They have been posing their faith. Of course, there are bouts. See, to comment about stock market's future is a little reserved topic where I would like to hold my comments. But then overall, we can give a broader picture. The broader picture is that ever since COVID, 2019, I would say, the market has been, we've seen about a 10% correction off late. But that is the way market behaves. It never moves in one direction.
Okay.
There's something in market. There's always got to be minor corrections here and there. But broadly speaking, the market has been on the up. And the world has started believing on Indian markets besides the Indian investors, Megha.
Okay, all right. Let's take a look at milestone number 19, where the Geological Survey of India announced India's first lithium mines in Chhattisgarh. Why is this so important?
Okay, I've included this as a major milestone because we're looking at 2024. What is the big ticket item that happened in 2024? This, ladies and gentlemen, is certainly going to be one of them. Okay, that the GSI, Geological Survey of India, has said that in Chhattisgarh, India's first lithium mines are going to come up. Now, so when we're talking about everything that has a battery, okay, EVs and your mobile phones and pretty much everything that's going to require a battery, it is still going to be dependent on lithium ions for the foreseeable future. There's sodium ion technology and others which are being researched, in which big Indian MNCs are investing in those companies. But you need lithium. If you want to have the entire value chain, you will have to have lithium.
Okay.
The lithium has to be found, it has to be surveyed, and then it has to be mined. So watch out for this, because you get the lithium, which is the raw material to make the batteries. You already had last year the first Indian lithium ion battery maker. So if the battery maker can get raw lithium from within India, then you can have that entire value chain of lithium ion batteries being manufactured in India. Huge ticket.
Okay, all right. And the final milestone when it comes to the category of industry, that startups created 16.6 lakh jobs, which are direct jobs in India in 2024.
Okay, this is an interesting one. The reason this is interesting because it is telling you that the startup ecosystem, because we in the news media and even people who are taking it up at industry level, they talk about the unicorns, the big startups. Not all of them are successful. We've seen big unicorns that have had bad tidings also in some case in the education sector. But across the board, the startup ecosystem of the hundreds and thousands of companies that are being started in this country who are innovating, they've generated 16.6 lakh jobs. Okay, so do the math. 1.6 million jobs have been created in the startup ecosystem directly. This is the employees they've hired. So these are the employment generators. So we talk about people who seek a job, job seekers and job creators. Well, these job creators have helped out 1.6 million others.
Okay, Sharad, a quick comment from you. When it comes to lithium reserves that have been found, when it comes to the startup industry that has built direct jobs, and there must be many more million jobs that they would have created indirectly as well.
Well, on lithium, I would say, Megha, we need a lot more reserves because we are still dependent on supply chains around the world, especially China. As Rishabh rightly said, there's battery everywhere, especially the EVs. And the desperate need for having EV market expanding in India is putting more and more pressure on lithium to be found. So this is great news that lithium found in Chhattisgarh. I hope this survey leads to many more lithium reserves. I'm sure there is plenty of lithium lying underneath our soil as well. Just that we need to find it and we reduce the dependence on imports to push the EV market. On startups, a very interesting point comes on startup as well. That is why these startups, and considering that 8 to 9 out of 10 startups fail, that's the official record. Despite that, we've had phenomenal investment coming from the venture capitalists and HNIs and the angels. I think this investment is testimony to the fact that the belief in Indian innovation and Indian business acumen is still there. So even if 8 drop out of 10, those 2, they shine so bright that we are able to generate that kind of employment, attract that kind of investment. And it does not dishearten or discourage the other younger startups from coming. So I think this data is simply a bad one to listen to. But effectively, it is bringing more and more people to the fore, Megha.
Okay, all right. On that note, we have completed the 20 milestones of the 101 milestones that we have tabulated for you. I thank Sharad Kohli. I thank my editor-in-chief, Rishabh Gulati, for joining me. And in the next half an hour, we are going to be talking about category number 3, which is social welfare, and the next 10 of those milestones that have built the parameters for social welfare in our country. Stay tuned.